Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 245 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. Just me this week. Eddie was going to come back and do, another segment of his story time. We decided to not do that this week due to how long the in-depth interview is that we have for you this week. It's going to be with former three-time world champion Mr. Tony Lopez. It's real in-depth. It's one of the most in-depth interviews I've ever done. It would have just been too long of a podcast, so we're going to save Eddie's stories for another week, perhaps next week. I am, of course, going to dive now into the review part of the show. There's some fights to go over that have took place, within the last few days and stuff. Obviously, we're going to start at the bubble in the MGM Grand Las Vegas last Thursday, so a week ago today, the 18th of June. The main event, I think it was Jose Pedraza and can't remember who was boxing now. That fight, of course, fell through. So elevated to the main event was Gabriel Flores, 17-0. He's now 18-0. A unanimous decision for him against Josek Ruiz, who's now 21-3 with 3 draws. Also on the bill, there was a bit of an upset in some ways, I guess. An undefeated guy called David Kaminsky. He was 6-0. He lost a split decision to Clay Collard, who was 6-2 with 3 draws. He's now 7-2 with 3 draws. A split decision over 6 rounds there. That's really all the action, to be honest, from last Thursday. There was nothing on the Friday. On the Saturday in Mexico, Emmanuel Navarrete, it wasn't a defense of his title. It was a real mismatch on paper. 32-1 now, Navarrete. A win there, a 6-round TKO against Uriel Lopez, who's now 13-14 with a draw. Nothing on Sunday to mention. On Monday, let's have a look. Nothing on Tuesday. Yeah, that's where we get to the big one really this week. Let's start with the undercard. Christopher Diaz, 26-2 now. Very emotional guy. A nice guy, very likable. Like I say, 26-2. A unanimous decision win over 10 rounds against Jason Sanchez, who's now 15-2. Again, that one's back at the bubble in the MGM Grand. But the main event, Andrew Maloney, 21-0 going in against Joshua Franco, 16-1 with 2 draws. Bit of a prospect, Franco. Obviously known for those 3 fights he had against Oscar Negrete, in which there were 2 draws, and then he won the 3rd fight, if I'm not mistaken. It was for Maloney's WBA World Super Flyweight title, the first 12-rounder during the pandemic, and the first world title fight, if I'm not mistaken. It was an interesting fight, really. It was a fast start to the fight in round 1 from Maloney. He was setting a high tempo. He was beating Franco to the punch. He was working his jab well. He was already reddening up the forehead of Franco. Round 2 was a close round. Franco landed some nice uppercuts in there. He was even leading with the uppercut at times. In the past, we've seen Maloney get hit, and hurt with uppercuts. So I liked the adjustment from Franco, being a little bit unorthodox, if you like. Round 3, a better round for Franco. Not sure it was enough to win the round. It was a hard fight to score at that point as well, to be honest. It was a close round. Maloney started to get hit a bit more often, but he did land some lovely left hooks to the body himself in that round. Round 4, much better round from Maloney. He seemed more focused. He was in and out with his punches. He didn't stay in the pocket long enough to get hit unnecessarily. It was smart stuff. Round 5 and 6, so the mid kind of rounds, Franco started to take over, really. He was walking Maloney down at times. He was putting the pressure on, and Maloney was getting outworked. I felt like Maloney was throwing too many hooks at times. He wasn't really he was neglecting his jab. at that point in the fight. He shouldn't have been doing that, and perhaps at times with all these hooks he was loading up quite a bit. Perhaps he was a little bit too eager to impress on his US debut. Round 7, a close round for me that I think Franco started off really well in, but then the second half of the round I think Maloney stole it. Again, he started jumping in and out with his shots, real impressive. It was nice to see, to see him come back after a couple of, rounds where he seemed to just lack that spring in his step. It seemed like he got it back here in round 7. Round 8, Chris Algieri on the commentary said something that I felt completely nailed the situation. He said that Maloney was having a bit of an identity crisis and that he was caught in between whether he should box and move or stand and trade. And I felt that was a very good description of what we were seeing at that point. Franco seemed the stronger of the two, and Maloney couldn't really put a dent in him despite landing eye-catching shots throughout the fight. He just needed to stick to his boxing, in my opinion, jump in, land 2 or 3 shots, then get out of there. Franco won that round in the 8th. Again, Franco won the 9th quite clearly. Round 10, there was a bad cut on Maloney's left eye. At that point, it was really bleeding a lot. Maloney was taking a bit of a beat down. He had no answer for it, and it was getting a bit painful to see, to be honest. Round 11, I've got to just say I expected that in the later rounds. I'm not sure how many times Franco's been 12. I don't know if any of those fights with Negrete were over 12. I think at least a few of them, maybe 2, maybe even all of them were 10 rounders. So I'm not even sure how many times Franco's been 12 rounds. Perhaps it was his first one. I haven't got BoxRec handy. I'm just going off the top of my head. But I expected Maloney to be the guy in control in the late rounds, but it was the complete other way round, And yeah, round 12, I think he cruised it once again, Franco. So for me, definitely the right winner. A bit wider on my card than the official judges' scorecards. But, that's what happens, A message to young prospects out there. Sometimes you get offered a tough fight, you don't want to take it, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, it's right to not take it. But he took those fights, Joshua Franco, against Negrete, and I feel that they have stood him in good stead moving forward. And also, he's part of that RGBA, the Robert Garcia Boxing Academy, and the sparring in that gym is just unbelievable. It prepares you for the very best in the world. The sparring you get in that gym is some of the best sparring you can get. So all their fighters tend to do pretty well, and that's another world champion for Robert Garcia. I think that's his 13th world champion, which is amazing because he's still a young trainer, if you like. But yeah, that's it for the review part there. We've whizzed through that. There is a little bit of news to mention. Friend of the show, Andrew Selby, apparently has decided to hang up the gloves. I haven't spoke to him personally, but everyone's reporting it as solid. I think he announced it on Facebook. It's a sad thing because, he goes down as one of the most underrated and underachieved boxers in recent history in Britain, for sure, and especially Wales. He was a tremendous amateur, and, he beat Rosales, who, of course, went on to get a world title shot and win it. He didn't get the shots in Britain that he wanted when he was British champion. His whole career just didn't go the way we thought it'd pan out, and it's a great shame because when he turned pro, he was one of my guys that I thought would win a world title. I wouldn't even want to put money on it because in my eyes, the odds, you wouldn't even win any money back. It was a dead certain, but he's decided to retire, and yeah, he hasn't looked his dominating self really in his previous couple of fights. So I can understand he might be on the slide. I think he's 31 years of age. It's just a great shame. I wish he turned pro much earlier. Oh boy, it's sad actually. Also, I've heard, and I cannot be 100% sure about this one, but I've heard Cheafon Moonsri, also known as Wang Heng Menayofin, who has a record of 54-0, the WBC World Minimum Weight champion. I've heard he's decided to step away from boxing, so that means he would leave the sport with a record of 54-0. However, I've also seen him say that after, I think, 24 hours, he decided to take a U-turn on that. So I don't know what's true. I don't know if he's retired. If he has retired, then best of luck to him. He's beaten Mayweather's record, of course, and he's set history there. But if he hasn't and he's back, I'm wondering if that was a little ploy there for him to kind of vacate his WBC world title that he holds at minimum weight, and perhaps he can come back and extend his his winning record against guys that aren't ranked in the top 15. Maybe that's what it was all about. Not quite sure. Just putting it out there. 34 years of age, the Thai fighter, a legend in my eyes. And also Jamel Herring, who was supposed to box Jonathan Oquendo. That fight, of course, has been postponed because Jamel Herring took a test, and it turns out that he has coronavirus. I've spoke to him just briefly, and it's quite scary, really, because as far as I knew, the top-ranked gym was in a real, safe environment. It was, you've got to be tested to be allowed in the gym. I think Andrew Maloney said he wasn't allowed in the gym until he'd passed the coronavirus test. Jamel Herring obviously was in that gym, and then all of a sudden he pops for I say it like it was drugs, he pops for coronavirus. I spoke to him. He's feeling pretty good. He's okay. He thought he just had a mild cold, he told me, which is good. The health of him, of course, is paramount, and that's the priority here. But sad for him, really, because he wanted to stay active, and unfortunately, that fight's had to be called off for obvious reasons. I just hope that he hasn't accidentally infected other people in that gym. I'm sure they're going to step up the stringency of everything. Another piece of news that broke just today, Frank Warren has announced the rescheduling of Dubois and Joyce. It's going to be taking place on October 24th. They're expecting a crowd by that point, so tickets are on sale now. They start at £40. They go up to £400 for ringside with hospitality. I still think that's quite optimistic, if I'm being honest, to think that you can, sell loads and loads of seats at the O2 Arena by that time. If we get a second wave, the fight's completely off. So not quite sure how much weight that holds at the minute. It's too early to tell. But that's all the news. Moving on to the preview part before we bring in our sole guest on this week's show. This one takes place later tonight at the Bubble in the MGM Grand Las Vegas. Top Rank putting on a show. Not much going on the undercard really, apart from Abraham Nova, 18-0. He takes on Avery Sparrow over 10 rounds. But the main event, Jason Maloney, just 48 hours after he witnessed his brother take his first loss. He's 20-1. He takes on Leonardo Paez, who's 18-2. Paez has been in there with a bunch of nobodies, really. The one guy that I noticed on his record is Julio Cesar Martinez, who we know well, obviously for taking on Charlie Edwards and people like that. Well, Martinez is a guy that stopped him in 2 rounds. So yeah, I'm not sure what we should expect from Leonardo Paez. On the Friday, there's a couple shows really in Mexico and in America, but nothing really to report. Same for Saturday. Nothing really going on, I don't think, on the Saturday. In fact, no, apparently Ryan Martin, 22-1. That's the guy that lost to Josh Taylor in the World Boxing Super Series, I think in the first leg or whatever. He hasn't boxed since. I think he's back actually on Friday in Florida. Oh, sorry, Saturday, I should say. And then, now we move over to next Tuesday. Obviously, this will take place by the time next week's show's out. Back at the MGM Grand at the Bubble. Jose Vargas, who's 16-1, takes on Salvador Brasino, who's 17-5. And Alex Salcedo, 29-1, takes on Sonny Fredrickson, 21-2. That could be a real competitive fight, so we'll certainly be watching that one for sure. So should you if you're listening to me. But that's everything. We haven't, it's just been me. I've brought you the review part, I've brought you the preview part. We went over the news, which was good to have something to discuss on that part. And now it's over for the talking. The final thing to do is to welcome my sole guest on this week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former 2-time IBF Super Featherweight World Champion and former WBA Lightweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Tony Lopez. Tony, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I can't complain.
Great, man. Great. Okay, so Tony, I want to start this with a basic opening question, really. What's your earliest memory of, first ever having an interest in the sport of boxing, perhaps putting gloves on for the first time? What's your earliest memory?
To be honest, I remember how I even got started. I was always fighting. I like to fight. I've always have. I'm old now, but I was younger. I've always liked to fight, and that's what I was doing. That's how I got into boxing. my brother was fighting. He was fighting before me, and his trainer was coming by a couple of times when I was 8 years old fighting in the street, and went back and asked my dad if he could train me. My dad said, no, not till I'm 10. So at 10 years old, guess what I was doing? I was still fighting in the street. He came by, he said, hey, you want to fight? I go, yeah. I thought he wanted to watch, because I was getting ready to get him to fight. And he goes, well, jump in the car. And I looked at him like, huh? He goes, jump in the car. I remember jumping in the car, went to the gym, never stopped going.
Oh, that's amazing, man. So street fighting at the age of 8 then?
Dude, I was fighting kindergarten, dude. It really was. And,
And did you have any, you had amateur fights obviously before turning pro, I'm guessing, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I had, what, back in our days, we really didn't do a whole lot. I fought all the time. I won the Junior Olympics 6 out of 7 times. I went to the Golden Gloves once, and then I was supposed to fight in the daytime, and I thought I was supposed to fight at night. So I went down to San Francisco to fight at night, and they said, hey, man, you got defaulted out. I'm going, I did? I'm going, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to fight yet. So I was supposed to fight this afternoon, so I got defaulted out. So, and I never went back. I just thought, okay, that was a waste of my time.
Yeah, very, very unorganized back then. But yeah, let's get on to the professional career. You turned pro on May the 3rd, 1983 in Sacramento against a man by the name of Juan Rodriguez. Obviously, it was a 5-round contest, but you only needed 1 to get rid of your opponent. Do you remember much of your debut?
I do. It was just like another amateur fight, because your debuts are like, because you're still really an amateur, even when you make your pro debut, just because you are a pro doesn't mean you ain't out of the amateur ways. And it was kind of real easy. It was the smaller gloves were nice. I remember using the 8-ounce Reyes gloves. I liked them, and then just caught them, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we skip forward to September the 1st of 1987, by this point you're 26-0 with 19 KOs. That would be the night you boxed Ramon Rico, who of course at the time only had a record of 10-8. It would go down as your first career loss, but of course it was by disqualification in round 7. I know what happened there, but just for those that could be listening that don't know, just explain what happened there, your first loss.
Well, the first off, Ramon Rico, we were fighting, and I think I threw a right hand and dropped him. But when he fell, when he dropped, he went down to his knee. But like I tell everybody, as a fighter, you see everything. So if he flinches, I see it, and I react to it. You don't teach people how to fight necessarily. You do, but you teach them how to react, to what they're doing. And so when he made that motion up, I hit him again. And then he went down, and his corner, who was Jimmy Montoya, told him to stay down. And so he looked up at Jimmy, and Jimmy's telling him to stay down. Talking to him in Spanish, to him, stay down. And the next thing you know, they disqualified him. And I'm going, okay, whatever. It is what it is. So you can't really cry about it, right?
Yeah, I understand completely there, but only 3 weeks later in the very same building, that's when you avenged the loss by knocking Rico out, this time in 3 rounds. 2 fights after that, we're now in March of 1988, that's when you stopped Tony Pep in 3 rounds. Now, Tony Pep was a tough fighter. Of course, he'd never been stopped, and he was only ever stopped once after that, or other than that night, and it was 13 years later when he boxed our very own Ricky Hatton, who, still didn't do it in as quick of a time as you did it. You did it in 3 rounds, like I say. Tony Pep, again, another guy that's been in there with the likes of Floyd Mayweather. Looking back now, was that your best win at the time? What do you remember about that one?
Watch, taking nothing away from all fighters. Any fighter that gets in the ring, they're going to be dangerous. It doesn't matter if he does. It doesn't matter if he has no knockouts or 100 knockouts. It doesn't matter, because anybody can get lucky at any given time. So saying that, Tony Pep was probably one of the 2 tallest guys ever fought. I think he was 6'1" or 6 foot, and but see, he was made for that for me, because the way I fought coming in. And, and when you're tall like that, which I've noticed, even back then, because I studied fights too, and what happens is when you get a tall fighter that's a short fighter, when they hit the ropes, the first thing the tall fighter does is go straight up. His head goes straight up, so you ain't even got to look. You just throw an overhand right, catch him. It's just because the body tells you where the head's at, right? And that's what I did, But saying that, Tony Pep was a very, very challenging fighter. I mean, don't take nothing from him, You can't.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll never understand how he made the weight as well. I think he's officially listed at 6'1.5". It's incredible that he made super featherweight back then.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, amazing. And like I say, you knocked him out on March 25th. Ricky Hatton knocked him out on March 26th, so March probably not one of his best months, Tony Pep. Your very next fight would be the one I'm sure you'll never forget, the night you become the IBF Super Featherweight World Champion. Of course, the fight was against Rocky Lockridge. The fight had everything. Both of you had big moments in the fight. You were down in round 8. I think it was a big right hand to the temple, made you lose your balance. You got back up off the canvas, so you climbed up and won a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. It ended up being the Ring Magazine's 1988 Fight of the Year. Tell us about that epic night there, Tony.
You know what? It was crazy. People ask me all the time, were you nervous? Were you scared? What were you? What was your moment like? It was none of that. I remember being my manager. My manager was at the time Jimmy Anderson. He owned the Pacific Coast Building Products. It was like a coast to coast company. He was my friend of the family. He was a big time, good, great guy. He was my manager at the time. And we were at his house before the fight. And I remember they had to wake me up to say, hey, look, we got to go to the auditorium now. It's time to go fight. And they woke me up, and I was asleep. I get down to the auditorium, and, it's just the same thing. Because watch, and I was young, so I didn't know. I was young. But, I've always watched Rocky Lockridge. Even before I fought him, as a kid, I'm looking at the fights. My dad always watched fights. And I'm watching him fight. I'm going, man, I want to fight that guy. I want to fight him because he's so tough. He's a killer. That's why I wanted to fight him. Because as a kid, I wanted to fight the fights that people wanted to see. I wanted to fight the fights that I may not win. I might get my butt whipped. But you know what? It's going to be a great fight. And I like that challenge. Today's boxing is nowhere near that anymore. They fight for, okay, I want some money. No, back then, hey, you sign a contract, you get what you get, and that's what you signed for. So you're obviously happy with it. And that's how I was. So I just wanted to fight. I wanted to fight the fights that bring out the best in me and them. And so when I was getting ready to fight Rocky, it was like a childhood dream come true for me, But, at that, I put that aside and trained for Rocky. I trained just as hard as I could by any standards. I kind of figured, okay, we're going to go to war. I'm not going to back down. He's not going to back down. And we're going to see who backs down first. Because it's going to be one of them type of fights. But I was ready for it. I was mentally ready for it. I was physically ready for it. I was ready for it. I've been ready for that since I was a kid. And that was my dream fight. And now that it was happening, it didn't seem like a dream no more. All that stuff of dreaming as a kid to fight Rocky Lockridge, now that the fight is happening, I don't even think about that anymore. I'm thinking about doing what I got to do to win this fight, And so when the fight came, it's kind of like this. This is crazy. It was. We were in the auditorium held, I think it was 15,000, 10,000, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was, I'm in the background. Rocky Lockridge went out first because he said he'd go out first. He didn't care. And so he went out first, and then, the crowd's cheering, doing all the stuff they're doing. And then I'm in the background in the hallways underneath the seats, where the people sit, there's that big hole. So I'm in the background, and I can see the ring. I can see Rocky Lockridge up in the ring doing what he's doing. And then they say, okay, Lopez, you have 15 seconds. And then they go 10, and then they go 9, 8, and they start counting down. And then when they hit it 1 second, they hit the switch to the light. And when they hit the switch to the light, it was crazy. Because now, mind you, I'm on the cement floor. We're in an auditorium. It's a cement floor. the crowd cheered so loud that my whole body was shaking. It was crazy. I can't describe it. But my whole body was shaking, and it kind of pumped me up, you know. And then like, I mean, as I remember it, they said, "Okay, let's go." All that, everything that was in my head went away. It was gone. And it was focused. It was straight focus. There was nothing else. And I get up to the ring. I'm in the ring. It's all business now. You know, I don't care who he is. I'm going with his butt no matter who he is. So it's all business at that point. When they said, "Let's go," all the excitement, all the goosebumps you get from the crowd cheering, all the stuff, everything that you had before that is gone in an instant. And I walked up and I did what I did. You know.
No, it's brilliant to hear the backstory because, like I say, it was a fabulous fight and it had everything. It had absolutely everything, you know, all the makings of what was a fantastic fight. Of course, your first defence of the title came 3 months later against John Molina, who, you know, was a very good amateur, but at that point, he hadn't really done too much in the professional ranks. Of course, he'd go on to become a 3-time world champion, and, you know, you'd go on to have a trilogy with him, but this was the first of the 3 fights you had with him. What do you remember of it? Obviously, you were down, I think, in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, but again, you climbed up and won unanimously.
Yeah, you know what? The first fight was kind of like he was kind of hard to figure out, you know, because he moved so much. You know, now if he would have stood in front of me, different story. You know, that was the third fight where he stood in front of me. When you move around and make me think, you know, because I'm a fighter, I'm not a boxer. When fighters fight, it's easy just to say, you hit me, I hit you, and let's see who goes first. You know, it's easy just to throw your arms. That's the easy part. You know, getting hit is easy. You just got to be able to take it, you know. And if you're mentally ready for it, then you'll prepare yourself for it. And so that was the easy part. But he didn't do that. John Molina came out in that first fight giving me all kinds of angles, to the left, to the right, jabs, moving. I'm going, I can't keep up with this guy. He's fast, and he was in and out, fast to the left, to the right. And it was confusing for me. So, was it a great fight for me that night? No. Did I get caught? Yeah. You know? And it didn't even hurt. It was more like just a little pink. And I'm sitting, because he hit me and I fell on my butt and I'm going, oh, this is kind of embarrassing. You know? And then, so I get up, you know? And then, but I thought it was more embarrassing than anything. And I remember thinking to myself, this is kind of embarrassing. And then I got up, but I never really got off because he was hard to figure out because he kept moving so much. You know, he wasn't like a normal opponent that just stood in front of you and fought. You know, maybe a little moving, that's fine, but this guy moved a ton. And for me, that's the first time was confusing. You know.
Yeah, for sure. He was a puzzle. He really was. You know, again, 5 months after that, that's when the rematch came. You gave Rocky Lockridge the rematch. The result would end the same way, a 12-round unanimous decision in favour of yourself. Slightly wider, though, this time than the first fight.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, when you have a spectacular fight, like fight of the year, the second fight never seems to make that top bill again. You know what I mean? Although they bill it that way, it never seems to happen. Because by that time you figure the fighter out. You know, by that time I had figured him out. You know, was it easier? No fight's ever really easy. And don't let me misinterpret if I say it was easier, because it was easier than the first fight. No, the fight wasn't easy. It was just easier than the first fight. You know, the first fight, after the first fight was done, you know, I was sore every day getting up out of bed from the fight. And so I started counting the days. I went, I wonder how many days I'm going to be sore before I can stop being sore when I get out of bed. Well, I counted. It took me 30 days after that first Lockridge fight to get out of bed without feeling any pain. It took 30 days. But that's how much you extend yourself during a fight, you know? So the second fight wasn't near that. And it was more like I knew I could take I could move more, and it so it wouldn't be such a hard fight on your body. You know what I mean? And it seemed to work. You know, so it worked out for me the second time too.
And then again, you were very active as a champion. Just 3 months later, you're in with Tyrone Jackson. If nothing else, he was a big puncher, but you stopped him, though, in 8 rounds in Nevada. It would be your last successful defense, though, of that particular reign. What do you remember about the Tyrone Jackson fight?
You know what? I remember he didn't want to come to Sacramento. I remember that he wanted to fight. He would go fight anywhere but Sacramento. I think they wanted to fight in New York, if I remember right. And I thought, well, shoot, I'm the champion. He's got to fight where I want to fight at, So then they settled on Lake Tahoe, and then I thought, okay, whatever. That's like Sacramento West or East, anyways. And I said, okay, whatever. And I went down there, and you know what? Tyrone he didn't do a whole lot, so I dictated the pace of that fight. I don't know why he didn't come at me more. I'm not saying he didn't. At times he did, but when you're fighting for a world title, remember, back in them days, if I was a champion, to take my title, I felt you not only have to beat me up, but you have to beat me down to take my title. If you don't do that, then it ain't going to happen. That's the same way I felt when I walked in with Rocky Lockridge the first time. I don't just have to beat him up, but I got to beat him down to take his title. And so, and then when I was fighting with Tyrone, it really wasn't doing that. So, and then I started seeing him become susceptible to some punches in the later rounds, in the middle rounds. And so that's why I started landing him and caught him. That was it.
Yeah, it really was a brilliant win there. And then, of course, 4 months later would be the night you lose the title in a rematch to John Molina. A TKO loss in round 10. But, since you'd beaten him the first time, he'd kind of gone on a little bit of a separate path. I think he picked up the WBO world title. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it on the line when he boxed you? Was it a unification?
No. It was just mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that one, Tony.
Well, you know what? Again, he's a good fighter. You got to give him credit. But in the second time, I was already starting to have trouble making the weight. I've already started having trouble making that, and it showed a little bit in that fight. I'm not saying not using that for an excuse. That's no excuse. That's as a matter of fact, and honestly, I don't think he did it on purpose. Because watch. I remember him throwing I think it was a right hook. I went under it, but I remember going under it and picking my head up right away, because I wanted to throw another punch back, right? But when he came back with his elbow, right? And his elbow, because it has to be his elbow. Am I sure? Am I 100% positive it was his elbow? No, because I didn't see it. All I seen at the very last second was right on my eyeball, there was a little patch of skin. So I'm assuming it was his elbow. And it just hit my eye, and what it did forced my eye back, and all the cartilage and muscle behind your eye had nowhere to go, so it blew a hole in my socket. So I had a broken eye socket. So I went back to that happened in the second round, I believe. I think it was the second round, second or third. And then within that minute, my eye was closed 100%. And so I went up there for the next round, and then it hurt tremendously on top of that. So I go out to the next round, and I'm not doing so good. After the round of that, the referee comes to my corner, and I'm sitting in my seat, and I get a cut over my left eye in that round after that. So now I got a cut over my left eye. My right eye is 100% closed, and I can't see anything. So the guy goes, close your left eye. He goes, how many fingers am I holding up? And I swear I couldn't see. And we never practiced it. We never even talked about it. But my corner man on the one that gives me my water, little Tony, hit my leg 3 times. And out of I don't know where it came from. I go 3, because we never practiced it. He hit my leg 3 times. And I go 3. He goes, okay, you can go. You can continue. I'm going, great. So, and then after that, it was just like a little, like the shooting range for little ducks, just bing, bing, bing. And that's what it was like. I mean, this guy he hit me so much, I thought the referee was punching at me. You know what I mean? But see, the crazy part is, like in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, he was killing me. And if you were going to stop that fight, I figured why would you stop it in those rounds instead of the 10th round? Because I honestly think that in the 9th round, he was tired of kicking my butt. He really was. I think he tired himself out trying to kick my butt. And me thinking, okay, well, look, he ain't gonna knock me out. So as long as I'm standing up, I can't see him. So I had to wait for him to hit me before I can swing back. And half the time, that's why half the time, if you watch that fight now, half the time when I'm punching, it's because he's already gone because I got to get his first, you know. And so that's what I was doing. And then finally in the 10th round, I think it was the 10th round, I get caught with 2 jabs. I just never saw him coming. And, you know, my head bounces back a couple times and the referee stops the fight. But see, in the 9th round, I did pretty good. And I wasn't doing too bad in the 10th round. Because, he was tired of kicking my butt. And I'm not going to say I was going to win the fight. Of course, you know, according to the scorecard, there's no way in the world I would have won the fight. But, you know, I always thought you have a puncher's chance. You never know. Anything's possible. And so, but when he stopped the fight, trust and believe me, it hurt so bad that, you know, I acted like I was mad, but in my head I was saying thank you God, because it hurt, and it hurt really bad. And so, you know, and I really was saying that. And so when they finally stopped the fight, you know, and then after the fight was over, everybody, trainers, managers, you know, everybody, but even my family members said, "Hey, man, maybe you need to retire, man. Maybe you done did what you did. You did a lot already. Maybe you should just quit." You know, I'm going, "Oh no." I don't know. He got lucky. You know, I had trouble making weight, so no, I'm not quitting. So then they said, "Okay," and you would not believe the papers, the TV, everybody said, "Oh, he's pretty much done. You know, it's over for him, right?" And my attitude was, "Screw you, no, I'm not. You know, I'll tell you when I'm done." And I didn't do anything for a few months. I had to get an operation on my eye. They had to put put all that stuff back together and did all that stuff, and I had to wait a few months for it to heal. And then one day I just walked into the gym and I started training. You know, after my eye healed, I walked into the gym, started training, and then even my dad said, you know, wanted me to retire. You know, so he goes, I was training for like about, I don't know, maybe a month. My dad goes, "Well," he goes, "what are you going to do?" I go, "I'm going to fight." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Who are you going to fight?" I said, "Molina." I go, "I'm going back and get my title." And he goes, "You sure you want to fight him?" And I go, "Yeah, that's what I want to fight." I go, "That's who took it. That's the title I'm going to go after." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "I can't stop you." He goes, "So I'm going to help you." "Okay, let's go." And then I started training for the third one. And, you know, that happened in, what was that, Reno, I believe? And I won it back.
Yeah, I mean, you had the fight in between, obviously, against Sylvester Kennan. You took him out in 2 rounds, of course. Yeah. And then, that's when the third fight come. Again, this time you had Molina down in round 11. And that punch, correct me if I'm wrong, actually won you the fight. Because if you hadn't scored that 10-8 round, I think it would have ended in a split draw. But yeah, tell us about that night when you became a 2-time world champion and, of course, ended that trilogy as the overall winner.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I can't say it would have been. But if that thing would have been a draw, that was crazy. So I kicked his butt. I didn't kick his butt every round, but I would say if after 12 rounds, I definitely won at minimum 8 of those rounds. If they would have given me a draw, someone I would have been pissed. I'm like, no way. But, you know, it did, so I'm not mad.
And again, you know, your first defense of the second reign came against the former IBF and WBO featherweight world champion Jorge Paez. Of course, Jorge had vacated his belts to move up to super featherweight. He hadn't lost them in the ring or anything like that. He vacated and moved up to fight you. We all know he was a real tough Mexican, and of course the fight ends in a 12-round unanimous decision for yourself. September 1990, and there was a record broken that night as well. Tell us about the fight and the record breaking.
Yeah, you know what? Paez was the big name in boxing at the time. If he was in the weight he was one actually a weight division lower than me, but he was huge. He wasn't just a name; he was a huge, big name, and he wanted to move up to 130 to fight for my title. And So after that last fight, I heard that he wanted to fight him. I said, well, shit, tell him to come on up, So, yeah, I'll fight him. So, talked to the managers. And we said, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then, because, see, here's what people really don't know. See, I'm an old school fighter. Like even today. Like if you go online, if you go onto YouTube today, you punch in boxing basics with Tony the Tiger Lopez, I'm getting boxing lessons free. You know what? And I'm going to give them like they did back in the 70s and when it was my time. Because that time, they don't teach the stuff I'm teaching people right now. If you go on YouTube, you're going to learn stuff that pros don't even know. How can I prove that? Because look at this. They let Manny Pacquiao come up from 108 pounds to 154, beating the best in the world. Why? Because he's a southpaw, and no other champion or top world contenders knew how to fight a southpaw. You know what? Back in my time, he'd have got knocked out. There's no way. He would have never got past Michael Carbajal. And what was Michael Carbajal? 119, something like that. 119, 112. He would have never got past Michael Carbajal. But because he came up in that time and everything, although he's really good for boxing, I'm not knocking him. But what I'm saying is boxing's changed a lot. Now fighters are fighting for the money and not really fighting knowing what they're doing. Because how many times, look, if you're a southpaw, I fought 2 or 3 southpaws in my time. I've knocked out 2 or 3 southpaws because they're easy to fight. They're just as easy as anybody else if you know how to fight them. But today's trainers don't know how to train their fighters how to fight southpaws. It's embarrassing.
That's interesting.
I don't know how I got on that tangent.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how I got on that tangent, but I did.
But no, tell us about the you broke a record. You didn't explain which record that was.
Oh yeah, that one. Well, yeah, because Jorge Paez was a huge name, and I was huge in Sacramento. I was huge I was nowhere near Paez, but Paez was a huge name. And the two, they thought, man, if they put us the two together, have it in Sacramento, it would be a sellout crowd. And we had just gotten a new arena. So, and I think this, for boxing, it held 18,000 people. Well, we put 18,000 people in there. And we had, from what I hear, they turned away thousands of people that couldn't make the fight because it was already packed. It was already to capacity, And to me, let me tell you something about Jorge Paez. He doesn't hit hard. Well, he didn't hit hard for 130. I've been hit a lot harder. I'm not saying he could knock me out. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I've been hit a lot harder, so I wasn't worried about his power. And, but one thing about him, he was really hard to hit solid. You can hit him, but, it had to be fast because he moves so fast and he moves so much. To hit him solid, you have to get lucky. Maybe he had to run into it, or maybe he moved his head and you had to catch him. That's why he didn't get knocked out or dropped too often, because he moved his head very, very well. And he could react to it. He had that gene that says, I'll make you miss and make you pay. Now if he could carry that punch up when he came up from 126 to 130, it'd have been a different story. But, at 130, to me, he just didn't hit hard,
And once again, that year, 1990, was, a year of recognition once again, because am I right in saying the Ring magazine had given you the comeback fighter of the year for that year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. So that's excellent, man. Moving on to the next fight. We're now in March of 1991. It's against the WBA world champion. You attempt to unify against Brian Mitchell. The fight ends, though, in a split draw over 12 rounds. Tell us about that one, Tony.
Again, weight becomes a problem. I've been telling my managers I need to move up, that I want to move up. I want to fight at 135. I want to fight for the title at 135. And they're going, okay, just one more fight. They keep pushing it, if people really understood what I had to do to make weight for these fights, they would go, man, how did you even stand up after the first round? I don't know. It's what I did. I used to lose 30 pounds for every fight. And you know what? As I got older, and it was in the Mitchell, a couple fights for the Mitchell fight started getting hard. Mitchell fight was very hard. I made it, but it was very hard. you know. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this if I was one more fight, or maybe not. I don't know, you know. But I made it the first fight, but I killed myself making it, you know. And so, you know, and the fight wasn't really me. You know, that's one of the fights that, you know, I don't know. It just, I couldn't. I was burnt. I burned myself trying to make weight, you know. And that's not. I'm not saying that's an excuse. It's not, because he did beat me, you know. It's not an excuse. That night he was better than me, no doubt about it, you know. But it's not because of. It's because I was trying to hold on to weight that I should let go, you know. And it didn't happen for me that night, you know.
Tony, that was obviously the rematch. I was referring though to the draw, a couple fights earlier when you had that draw the first time round.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. The draw.
Oh, so you thought
yeah.
He did enough to win the draw?
Honestly, that's the fight. That's, like I said, that's the one to be really flip a coin in the air. Whoever won, and it's a good win. You know, I'm not going to complain and say I won. I'm not going to complain and say I lost. You know, it is what it is. You know, that's being honest.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I didn't perform at my best. You know, and so I wasn't really sure if I did enough to win or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
like you mentioned, you know, weight became a real problem at this stage. You did successfully defend your belt once after against Lupe Gutierrez before having that rematch with Brian Mitchell. This time, again, this would be your second world title reign coming to an end. A unanimous decision loss over 12 rounds. I'm guessing it's pretty much more of the same, really, Tony. More weight issues, and this obviously would be your last fight at super featherweight. What do you recall of that night, though?
And watch for that fight, I never made the weight. I never made it. I weighed 130 3/4, I believe. I went back for 4 hours, I believe. I was dead before I even got on the scale. I killed myself trying to get on the scale. I got on the scale. I weighed 130 3/4. And you got to understand, I walk around at 160, you know, in between fights, and I make 130. So I lose 30 pounds for every fight. And, you know, and honestly, I gained so much weight overnight, but it was normal for me. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I've been doing it since I was like 18, 19 years old. You know, so it was nothing for me. You know, and I heard, well, I guess another fighter did it later on. They found out he's been doing it years later, like 5 or 6 years later. I'm going, shoot, I've been doing that for my whole life. I mean, what's the big deal? You know, anyways, so, you know, for that second, I don't know, man, it was just like you know, I've never watched the fight. I refuse to watch the fight. I've never watched it. To this day, I've never seen it. Because when I stepped in that ring that day, I never made the weight. I killed myself trying to make the weight. I spent another 4 hours in a sauna with plastics on, with Abilene in my body, trying to jump rope for another 4 hours to not make the weight. I left the weigh-ins at 130 3/4. Went to a sauna, jumped rope for 4 hours. Came back. I was still weighed 130 3/4. Didn't lose a freaking ounce. Got to the fight, and that has to kill your spirit, you know, because it really does. The first miss killed your spirit, and then you go back for 4 hours and try to lose again. The second one, you didn't lose an ounce. So, in all honesty, I couldn't tell you anything about that second fight because I don't remember it.
No, that's fine.
I really don't.
That's fine.
I have no concept of that second fight.
I was going to ask if you ever wanted to have the third fight with him, but obviously it's a strange one because after that fight there, he retires for like 3 years, then he comes back at 140, which is pretty strange. And he come back for 2 fights. He just boxed, you know, guys of much lower level, and then that was it. He retired for good. Did you ever want the third fight at some point at a higher weight?
Watch this. You know me. I look at it this. Hey, look, if you want to jump in and do it again, we'll do it again. At 140, it's a whole new Tony Lopez at 140. Yeah. You know? And, you know, here's what's crazy. Now, I'll be honest with you. I lose 30 pounds for every fight. When I was fighting at 130, and I did it for years. And but that, you know, for the Mitchell fight, that was the last fight I never made it. So, but here's what I would do. I'd weigh in at 130. I weigh in at 129 3/4 every time. Every single time I was 129 3/4. By the fight time the next day, I was 159.5 to 159.75 every single time. But as I gained weight, you know, my fight weight would come down. Like when I moved up to 135, I think I only weighed, I would probably come in about maybe 155, 158, you know, like a couple of pounds lighter. And when I moved up to 140, you know, I'd only come in about, I don't know, maybe 150, 153. You know, I guess it because I wasn't starving myself so much anymore. You know, but that my fight weight would actually come down. It wouldn't get so big, you know.
Yeah,
it was kind of weird.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. I was going to say, how on earth is that even possible? But, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, that was weird. And I ate the same. I did the same. I didn't change anything. So it's not my diet, you know.
Weird.
So I don't know.
Weird. But yeah, if we fast forward a year after that, you know, you move up to lightweight like we mentioned, you have 3 fights, winning all 3 by KO. Before boxing for the WBA lightweight world title against the champion at the time, the undefeated 29-0 Joey Gamache. October 24th, 1992 was the date. Tell us about the night you become a 3-time world champion, Tony.
You know what? We knew Joey was fast. I expected that. Now, as some of you know, I don't know, a lot of people know, but it's going to be one or the other. You're either going to hit hard and be a little bit slower, or you can be faster than crap and not hit so hard. Well, Joey was faster than crap. You know, he didn't hit very hard, but he was faster than crap. You know, he was fast. And I've always been told, and I've always trained, and you know, like when I trained, when I was weighing 160, I'd start with small heavyweights, like maybe 205, 215, and I'd start sparring with heavyweights. And you know, throughout my career, and I'd go toe to toe with these guys. We'd bang because I wasn't trained for fun, but as my weight came down, so did my sparring partners. You know, the last person we used he was a world champion at one time, was Willie Jordan. And for the last 2 weeks of my training, we used him because he only weighs, I think he was like 115 or something like that, 119, 115, and he was fast. And it took me 2 weeks just to catch him. So I'd get the best of both worlds. I'd get heavy hitting, you know, the hard punching guys that just want to take your head off, and then you end up with Willie Jordan, who was fast and crisp. You know, so by the time I got into the ring, you know, the guys that hit hard really didn't hit that hard because I'd start off with heavyweights, you know, and work my way down, you know, and then you know, like with Joey, but Joey was tough because he was fast. One time it might have been like in the 7th round, and I was tired, so I want to take a little breather, you know, a little breathe in, and then but we are far enough away that I could think we were in the neutral corner, to the right of my corner. So on the right side of my corner, we're in the neutral corner, and we're during the round, but we're far away different. I think, okay, I'm gonna take a quick breath right here. So I took a deep breath in, and because he was far away enough, this guy jumps in, hits me with a 1-2, bam, bam, and before my head came back, he was gone. And I'm going, shoot, he's still pretty fast. You know, it didn't hurt, but it sure did look good. You know what I mean? And he was fast. And then, but with Joey, with someone like that, as a fighter, as a fighter, not a boxer, you have an option. You have an option either get in his butt early, work the body, slow him down for the later rounds, and, you know, prepare yourself for the later rounds. And so that's what I did. You know, I knew I was going to lose the first half of the fight. That was without saying. You know, he's faster than I am, you know. Where I was going to come in at some later rounds, and that's what happened, you know. Taking nothing from Joey because he was pretty fast.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know,
and like I said,
I had to stick to my stick to the game plan.
Yeah. And 11th round TKO. You become a 3-time world champion. Interesting scores at the time of the stoppage as well. One card completely even. One card having Gamache up by 1, and the other card having Gamache up by 4, which is slightly surprising, really. If we fast forward now. only 4 months to the next fight. You're back out defending your belt for the first time here against Dingan Thobela, who was an unbeaten fighter once again. Another guy with a record of 29-0. Sorry, not 29-0, 28, and he had a draw at the time, didn't he? Former WBO lightweight world champion. The fight was close, but you got the win unanimously over 12. Not everyone thought you deserved it, though, Tony. How do you recall that night there?
To be honest, you know what? Every once in a while you get a gift. And I'll tell you right now, it's a gift. But once in a while, even I deserve a gift, right? But, taking nothing from him, he was a good fighter, And, sometimes you just have off nights. There's no excuse for it. Not for me being where I'm at. You know what I mean? At the time of the fight, you go in there. There's no problems. You trained well. You did all the stuff you're supposed to do. You made your weight on time. You did everything perfectly, for that fight. But you get into the ring. You wake up that morning and you're going, oh shit. Shoot. It's not gonna be a good day today, and you know it. The fighters know it, and I'm not the only one that this has ever happened to, and that's how I felt. I felt, man, it's not gonna be a great fight. You just wake up that day not feeling it, like you're just not into it that day, and that, it's just you have a bad day and a bad taking nothing from Dingan. He came and did what he did, but for me, it wasn't my best. And to get a draw, okay, I deserve one once in a while,
Yeah.
Or a win or whatever,
Yeah.
I deserve something once in a while. So was it probably a gift? Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah, that's honest of you to say.
But I ain't got a lie to kick it. It is what it is,
Yeah. And like
I just don't think.
Sorry,
if anything, watch. Let's bring back what I said a minute ago. I'm the champion. You not only got to beat me up, but you have to beat me down if you're going to take my title in my town, in any champion's town.
Yeah.
So, he didn't do that.
And like I say, during your reign, you were so active. You're boxing every 3 or 4 months, and again, the rematch takes place 4 months later. This time, you have to travel all the way to South Africa. The result, however, would end, of course, your third world title reign when Thobela was announced the unanimous winner. What do you remember about that fight and just the whole experience traveling to a place like that? Because prior to that, you hadn't really even had to leave your hometown of Sacramento much, let alone leaving the whole continent and going somewhere like that. What was it all like?
Let's talk about that first. Talk about not about fighting at home. The reason why I fought at home so much is because I'm the champion. I should be able to fight where I want to. I'm the champion. You fight where I want you to fight. We don't fight. And it doesn't really. I did it for Sacramento because Sacramento didn't have any mates. It had the Kings, but let's be real. They didn't have no really major sports at that point in time. Was it fun fighting in front of my hometown? Of course it was. Was it a little bit more work? Of course it is. Is it a little bit more of a headache? I'm not headache, but a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Is it a little bit more, do you have to prepare yourself a little bit to make sure you show good? No, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I prepare myself for all my fights. So that never changed, But I like fighting in front of my hometown because it's fun. And if I'm the champion, unless you're giving me more money, I'll go. If not, you're fighting here. So, like everybody knows, money dictates where the fight's going to be, And they offered me more money, so I went. And I'll tell you what, for anybody that's listening that's never been to South Africa, and if you want a really, really, really cool experience, go. Make that your next big vacation. And we stayed in a place called Sun City. And Sun City is just gorgeous. Man, that's probably the best trip I've ever been on in my life. Everybody was nice. People thought, they didn't know what to expect of me. And so when we landed in Johannesburg, went to the TV thing, and then we drove a few hours to Sun City, and then we stayed in Sun City. And, they gave me some guys that would run with me. They gave me a training camp. They gave me everything I needed. And, and so the last week, everybody knew I was there. And, they thought there would be problems because, I'm a Hispanic fighting in South Africa during apartheid. I didn't care one way or another. I go, to me, I mean, at the time I'm 27, 28? I don't remember how old I was, 29? I don't remember how old I was, but whatever age I was, my life was boxing. My life wasn't about, worrying about what apartheid is. I had no idea what apartheid was, It's not my thing, If it was my thing, then I could tell you, but it's not. So, I keep my nose to myself. And so we get there, we had to take a guy with us that kind of knew all about that stuff. So he goes, okay, he was my spokesperson, whatever you call him. And so, we get off the plane, he goes, okay, if they start asking you questions about apartheid, he goes, just move out of the way and I'll answer those questions. Okay. Well, we get off the plane, he goes, guy comes, puts a mic in my mouth, and he goes, what do you think about apartheid? So Chris moved me aside and he started answering the questions, and it was great. He said, we come to fight for everybody. We don't fight for any one group. We fight for everybody. And so we just stayed on that note. I mean, I don't know anything about apartheid. And so the last week before the fight, I wanted to run outside because Sun City is like a city within a city, kind of. Because you drive from Johannesburg to Sun City, and Sun City's got walls. I couldn't tell you how big it is. 1,000 acres, 10,000 acres, 100 acres, I don't know. But it was huge, and it had this huge wall. And then when you drove into the front doors of Sun City, it was like the Wizard of Oz doors. The doors opened up really, really big, like half-moon doors, and they're huge. And, I mean, they had to be, I don't know, I may be tripping, but I'm going to say 30, 40 feet tall. And you go down the long road, you go to the palace. The hotel is called the Palace. And as you're driving up to the palace, it looks just like a palace. You walk in, for the first 5 minutes, you're looking up at the dome that they have in this palace, because it's all painted in African paintings, And it looks like it's done by hand. So you're going, oh my God, this is crazy. And you're sitting there looking, and then you go inside, and people are great. It's really fun. It was a really great place. And then, towards the end, I wanted to run on the outside. So they said, okay, well, we're going to have to put some guards go with you because it may not be safe for you. I'm going, care about being safe. I'm a fighter. I'm going to worry about not being safe. I don't really care. So they put some guards with me, right? So a guy named Pierre was my running mate when I was there. So we went down this one road. It was about 5-6 miles long or whatever it was. And so we started running down this road. And there's these little houses on the side of the road. Now, I can't remember if they were little tiny houses or huts. And so, like, the people that were going with me were in jeeps, fully machine guns and the whole 9 yards. I'm thinking, you guys really need all this stuff? They had machine guns and everything. They were ready for war. I'm just a fighter, really. And so we're running down, and these kids are coming out of the house, right? Because it's just before school time. And they're coming out of the house, and they're going, hey, Tiger, get him, Tiger, go, Tiger. And the whole thing was like that. It was neat. And then at this 5 mile, we had this 5 mile long stretch of road that we're running down. And at the end, I didn't know it the first day, but there's a bunch of kids at the end. It was a bus stop. And so I'm running, and that was the 5 mile mark. And so, and it was cool because, they ran to me because I had there was cameras there, and then the guys with the machine guns were there. We were running, a group of us running. And then, so they start running towards me. And let's say it was about a football field, 100 yards out. And they turned around, and we all sprinted in. It was like a Rocky movie, right? So we all sprinted in. And so, we're sitting there talking to them and, having a good time with these kids. And, signing autographs and all the stuff I needed to do. So the next day, and their money is called rands. And I think there was like maybe 8 kids there. I think there's like 8 kids or something like that. So the next day we took $100, we changed it into rands, and then we ran down there. We gave all the, we divided that money up between them all, right? Well, the next day there was like 12 kids out there the next day, and we just kept dividing up the money. We just got more money and divided it up. It was really good. It was cool. I had a great time, and then that was leading up to the fight. And so when the fight happened, the weight was great. I was on time. And now let me tell you my version of how the fight happened. because I don't know if people saw it or whatever, but the first 6 rounds of that fight, he fought, and I got to give it to him. He fought hard, and so did I. And so, we're banging each other, but that's what I do. I don't care. So again, I'm ready. I'm a late starter. I get going after about the 7th round. About the 6th, 7th round, I pick it up. Well, I picked it up, and I started banging, and he stopped banging. Now he starts moving and running and going backwards and this and that, doing all kinds of stuff, doing anything but fighting. He's fighting spurts now, So my brother, who was my biggest critic, honest critic, if he tells me you lost, because I lost, So if he tells me I won, then I know I won. And my brother was in my corner at the time. And so after the fight was over, but, again, I went to his town looking to take him out, right? But so I look at it the same way. If they come to my town, but as a champion, you got to beat me up, beat me down. Well, I'm the champion. So, and I didn't really think the fight was that close. So here's how it went. They didn't expect to have no blacks in the audience because it was during apartheid. They just didn't have a lot of money, I guess. I really don't remember what the issue was, or how it went, but they didn't expect that. But that night, that's all. I'd say 80% of the crowd was black, and they were surprised. And the 8th round, they thought I was going to knock him out or beat him. So they brought in, and I didn't notice this until after the fight was over, because they told me, they go, hey, man, 8th round, the National Guard or their army came in. I go, why? He goes, people were getting quiet, man. They thought you were going to win. He goes, and they didn't know what people were going to do. And so I'm tripping out because after the fight was over, they announced him the winner, and I'm going, okay, whatever. They announced, I'm not going to cry about it. It's over. What can I do, right? So, I go about my way, and, I was there for a few more days, and everybody I talked to go, hey, man, you know what? They took that fight from me, dude. You took it. We're sorry, this and that. Even the next day in the paper, they had a big thing that said, hey, we're sorry that you came down here and took the fight from you. The fight should have went your way, blah, blah, blah. So, but to me, it's boxing. It is what it is. I didn't care. I mean, you care, but, I can't change it. So, you move on, go get another fight or do something else, No,
that's crazy, man. Hearing the details about that and how, how detailed you were there was just a pleasure to listen to. At parts of that, I was closing my eyes and picturing being there. That was fun. But no, I'm going to definitely watch that fight back and score it and let you know how I get on. I'd like to see that.
For real.
I will. Again, after that, you move up to super lightweight. You're at 140 now. You come back with 2 knockout wins over Larry LaCourcier and 1 over former world title challenger Amancio Castro before boxing former 3-time world champion Greg Haugen at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Now, it's probably fair to say that both of you had probably already seen your better days by this point, but what was it like to box him in Las Vegas, the mecca of boxing?
He was, here's my thing on Greg. I knew he talked a lot of smack. He talked smack about it. Him and Vinny Paez had them words all the time. And every time he fought somebody, he talked bad about him.
Vinny Pazienza wants to beat him up to this day. When I spoke to him, he let me know that if he ever sees him in the street, he wants to choke him out there and then. His words.
I know. I like Vinny, man. I like that dude, man. He's a good guy. I like Vinny.
Good guy.
Anyways, but you know what? I don't know, man. He never said anything bad about me. He talked about kicking my butt. He talked about, but that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be confident. He's supposed to be talking about kicking my butt. Because I'm not a talk smacker or a smack talker. I just go in and do my thing. I train hard. I do what I have to do. I prepared myself really well, and I'm going to come in here and win this fight. And and he never really talked smack, so he really didn't disrespect me. So we just went. When I went into the fight, I was going in just to beat him. That was it. He did mention that. See, here's where a lot of fighters are wrong. And like he told me, he goes, man, you never been in the ring with somebody at 140. You don't know how hard I'm going to hit you. I'm like, dude, you have no clue. I start off with heavyweights, fool. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I've been hit a lot harder than you can ever hit. You know what I mean? But I have. And that's how I was thinking. While he was talking, I was thinking, okay, whatever. If that's what you're going off of, you're in a bad spot. And the fight happened, and again, he didn't hit that hard. So I attacked. I don't know what round it was, 7th, 8th round, 9th round, something like that. And I got the win. So.
Yeah, and that was a brilliant win. Like I said, I think you had him down in round 6 and then out of there in the 10th and final round. Of course, in your next fight, you get the chance to become a 4-time world champion. The date would be December 10th, 1994 in Mexico against the legend that is Julio Cesar Chavez. His record at the time was 91-1 with a draw. Tell us about that night there.
You know what? Biggest disappointment fight of my career, for many reasons. I went down there 2 months prior, stating that I was going to box for 10 rounds. I'm knocking them out in 11th, 12th round. Championship rounds, one of us is getting knocked out because we're fighting. I go, but I'm going to box for 10 rounds. So for 2 months, I'm telling the TV, newspapers, anybody that would listen, because everybody's asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm going to box for 10 rounds. I'm knocking him out in the last 2. So the day before the weigh-ins, we're on TV. He's talking smack. He's saying, oh, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to do that. Whatever it is. They asked me what was going to happen. I said, like I've been saying, I'm going to box for 10 rounds. I'm going to knock him out in the last 2. So the day of the fight happens. Well, the weigh-ins happen, right? And but we're in Mexico. And if you don't know Mexico, now you will. You have Obacar, Trinidad. Everybody's there. All these champions are there because they're on the card. Everybody's fighting. Let's just say the weigh-ins are at 3 o'clock. I don't remember what time it was, but it's 3 o'clock. Well, we all get there. There's no Chavez. It's 4 o'clock. Everybody's there. Still no Chavez. It's 5 o'clock. We're all there. No Chavez. So now we're hungry. We all, dieted down to make the 140. So we're all hungry and we're all getting mad. And so about 3 hours later, Chavez walks in, jumps on the scale, and because no one's allowed to touch the scale, they're not going to weigh anybody in until he weighs in. And so he comes in, he strips down, jumps on the scale. He's way over 140. That thing didn't even come close. That thing went straight. It stayed up. It went from the middle to up. It didn't try to go down. And so he gets off and he takes off again. And now we're all the fighters are kind of, mad. And so he takes off for like another 2 hours, I think. And so we're all starving. We're saying, hey, man, this is BS. We need to get our weigh-ins done, And they're going, no, we ain't going to weigh nobody until Chavez weighs first. So he comes back. He jumps on the scale. The scale goes slightly up, but not as much as it was, or not as fast as it did, but still went up. And they go, okay, 140. And so my dad goes, oh, no. He didn't weigh 140. Goes, get him back on that scale. Well, by the time my dad said, get him back on that scale, he was gone. That's how fast they did it. They jumped on the scale, they yelled out 140, and he took off. And then so, my dad and Jose Solomon, it was funny. My dad and Jose Solomon were getting ready to fight, and because he didn't make it. And that's not the point, because it doesn't matter what he weighs at this point, But it's the fact that he didn't make it, and they're trying to make us like we're dumb. We're not dumb. We know he didn't make it. And so I told my dad, man, let it go. It doesn't matter what he weighs. I go, he can weigh 170. It doesn't matter. I go, it's fight time. I don't care. And then so the next day, they have it. The fight's ready. We get ready to fight. And, the first round happens. And nothing really big happens in the first round. And, I don't think he's hitting hard. I don't think he's hitting harder than anybody's ever fought before, I don't think he hit me with anything that even remotely even bothered me during that fight. I went there to win the last 2 rounds. I wasn't there to win the first 10. If I didn't get a knockout, if I didn't knock him on the last 2 rounds, guess what? And I would have lost. Guess what? Okay. I came to knock him out in the last 2 rounds. I didn't do it. I'll accept the loss and leave. No problem. But I was ready to go to war in the last 2 rounds. So I think the second or third round, I don't remember what it was, I get a little cut over my left eye. That blood never got in my eye, never did anything. I'm dancing around, boxing. I'm just doing what I'm doing. And then, blood's going down the side of my face, but not in my eye. It didn't bother me, never bothered me. And then we're in the 10th round now. So we're in the 10th round. I got one more round. I remember telling myself during that round, man, just take it easy, relax, just get through this round. You know what I mean? Because I'm ready to go to war the next round. I'm fresh as a daisy. I was ready. I was in it. That's why I trained the whole time for the last 2 rounds. And the referee comes by. He calls me and says, "Come to the doctor with me." So I'm looking at him like, "What, huh? Like, what are you talking about, dude?" So we go to the doctor. Now the doctor never gets on the mat, never gets on the ring, stands up from his seat. Now I'm standing up on top of a ring that's 3 or 4 feet high off the ground, and then I'm standing up. The doctor just stands up on the floor, and he goes. He says it in Spanish, but in English it says, "Oh no, it's over, it's done, it's over." And so I go, "What?" I go, "It's over." I go, "It's not even getting in my eye, dude." I go, "What are you talking about?" And so I'm talking to him in Spanish. And then he goes, "Oh, no, it's over, it's over." I go, "Hey," I go, "Okay." I go, let me do this. I go, "Let me finish this round. If I don't knock him out in this round," I go, I'll quit, and I'll never say one bad word about it. I go, "I'll never say nothing." I go, "But let me finish this round." And he goes, No, that's over, it's over, it's over.
Wow.
And that's what pissed me off. Made me mad.
Wow.
And so, it was like the biggest disappointing fight of my career. I went to go to war the last 2 rounds. He hit like a little girl. He didn't hit hard. I never thought he hit me with anything that remotely even bothered me. I've been hit harder, but here's what I will tell you, and you'll be the first person to ever ask me this, well, here's how I really felt. Watch. When he hit me, it was hard, but not like a punch that's going to knock you out. It was hard I don't know, it was more, watch, okay, I'm just going to say it. Like, to me, it felt like he had, not an object in his hand, but that liquid cement that people use from Mexico? Mm-hmm. It felt like that. It felt like it was hard. Like the glove, not the glove, but maybe his hand wraps or something was hard, right? But he didn't hit hard, And then after that fight, for the first time in my career, in my whole career, man, I looked like a chipmunk. My side of my eyes were all swollen up, and I'm going, how did that happen? Even for days after that fight, I'm going, that's BS. There's no way in the world you're going to tell me he did. No, he didn't hit hard. He did not hit that hard. And I never felt it. So, after it was like even for when it was time to, as a champion, when it's time to lace up your gloves, my corner goes to their dressing room, their corner comes to my dressing room, and they watch us wrap them up, right? Wrap up the gloves, right? Well, watch. They came to our dressing room, but they wouldn't allow us to go to his. Wow. That was BS. Why? I don't know. Because by rules we're supposed to. Yeah. The WPC rules still stand in Mexico for what country you're in. They're still the same. They don't change. And like I told, and then I told them, they wouldn't let us in the dressing room. Well, that's because he needs to do whatever he needs to do. I go, I don't care. The fight's on. I don't care. And but that's what really happened during that fight. That's the honest to God truth. What happened.
So you reckon he probably did have him loaded somehow?
He did something, because you know what? Ain't no way. Because I fought for how many years? I had that fight in '94. Yeah. I fought for another 5 years, and I fought big fighters, name fighters. And, not, like Chavez fighters, but big name fighters for real stuff, And you can't tell me that they're going, oh, well, maybe because you're aging. Well, if I'm aging and that happened, shouldn't it happen after again? Because I fought 5 more years. Yeah. You mean to tell me in 5 years it never happened again? That I'm aging? No. You ain't telling. I'm not believing that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
So, it is crazy,
So after that fight, you'd lose to former world champion Freddie Pendleton back at the MGM Grand, then to former world champion Charles Murray. You then put together 5 wins before losing your final fight to eventual world title challenger Hector Quiroz in Coachella in February 1999. You retired though with a brilliant record, like I say, a great solid resume, 50 wins, 8 losses and 1 draw. Did you want to have any words on those last few fights I've kind of skipped through pretty quickly there? If you want to say anything on any of those before we move on, you're welcome to do so.
Hector Quiroz, my last one.
Go for it.
Watch. I was training in Auburn, above Sacramento, and the fight was by Palm Springs, Coachella Valley, whatever it was. And now, mind you, I still get big between fights, so I have to train hard to lose the weight. I still got to do all that. I have to do all the stuff. I'm on a system when I start training for weight and conditioning. I'm on the system for both. 9 days before the fight, they tell me, hey, the promoter tells me, hey, man, we want you down here for the news stuff and all that other stuff, and we want you to train down here. So my dad calls me. He says, hey, son, we got to go. I'm going, Dad, I want to go. I go, I'm going here. My weight's coming down. I got everything here that I need. They're not going to give me anything over there. I go, I'm an old fighter. It's a young fighter. I need to be in good shape with it. My dad said, well, they're bugging for the new stuff and want us to go down there. I go, well, Dad, I want to go. So a couple of days later, my dad called me back and said, we have to go. So then we ended up going 5 days prior. And so, and here's how it starts. We land around, 2 or 3 o'clock in L.A. or airport in L.A. around 2 or 3 o'clock. We finally take a cab to Coachella Valley or Indian Wells, wherever it was, Palm Springs or wherever it was, about 2 a.m. It takes us about an hour to get there. So I'm up at 3 a.m. and I got a fight next week, right? My driver never came. To this day that I'm talking to you right now, I've never met my driver. The people that are supposed to take you to the gym and all that other stuff. I never met him. I never even saw him because we never had him. He never came. My boxing gym for that fight, for the last 7 days of that fight, let me tell you what it was, 24-hour fitness. I hit the mitts and a jump rope. That was it. That's all I could do because I never met my driver to take me to the gym. I knew of no gyms over there. No one told me of any gyms over there or wouldn't tell me of any gyms over there. Finally I kept telling my dad, screw it, let's go. I go, you know what? 3 days down, I'm going, you know what? I go, Dad, I'm not going to make the weight. I can't. I have to train. I'm not losing the weight I need to lose. And he goes, well, just give it a couple more days. I go, I'm telling you, it's going to be harder on me because I'm not making the weight. I'm not working out enough. I go, we're not doing enough. And he goes, well, So a couple of days will go by. It's like maybe 2 days before the weigh-in, an hour, a day before the weigh-in. And my dad goes, okay, let's go. He goes, this is crazy. We're not ready. They didn't give us anything. The contract said, let's just go. But me, I'm mad. And I'm like, because you're starving yourself again. You're doing all this stuff again. And I'm going, no, you know what? I can do it. Go ahead. Let's just go with it. I can do it. Because I was tired. I wanted to get it over with. And then so he said, you sure? I go, yeah, I can do it. I got it done before. I'll do it again. And he goes, okay. So we stayed. I weighed in. I think I was a pound over. Had to go lose that pound. Came back. I made the weight. He just they just set me up. They set up an old fighter so that they can put up a new fighter. I'm taking nothing from Quiroz either because Quiroz is okay. Was he good enough to beat me? No, not even close. But he did that night. You know what I mean? But there was other things that were happening that made that happen. He didn't do it. His promoter beat me. You know what I mean? So that's another one of those fights. Because after that fight, we were supposed to be set up for a world title fight, which he got, and he lost. But that's what that fight was for. And not saying that the champion that he fought wasn't a tough fighter, because I could have beat him. But I never got that chance. So, that's boxing.
Yeah, lots and lots of twists and turns. especially with your career. I want to go for a few much quicker questions now, just before we wrap up, Tony. I'm really intrigued to know what you say to this question. I want to ask who the biggest puncher in your entire career was. Obviously you've gone on record to pretty much say Gamache didn't really hit hard, Paez didn't really hit hard, Chavez and Greg Haugen didn't. Who was the biggest puncher?
Two of them. Two guys that you probably never heard of.
Okay.
But remember that one fight you said that I had after I lost the title? I had to fight that Mexican kid. And I stopped him like in 7 rounds, 6 rounds, something like that, 8 rounds, something like that. I lost the title, and I had to fight this Mexican kid for a tune-up before I fought for another title. That Mexican kid, that dude hit me so hard. He hit me in my arm. And he's been, one of 2 fighters that hit me in my arm. This guy hit me in my arm. The bell rings, we're moving around. It must have been a left hook because it hit me in my right arm. Hits my arm, and I'm going, damn, this guy can hit. I better get rid of this fool, So I started fighting him hard. I mean, I jumped on him right away. And, I think I knocked him out like 6, 7, 8, something like that. But he hit hard.
What was his name? I'm trying to.
He hit hard enough to. I had lost a fight. I think I lost a fight, and then I fought this Mexican. He had a Mexican name. He was from Mexico, and I think I knocked him out like 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds, something like that. And his record was like, I don't know. I'm throwing numbers out there, but it was something like this. It was like maybe 20-something wins, 12 losses.
See, that sounds like Sylvester Kennan.
No, it wasn't Sylvester Kennan. But he hit hard, but he didn't hit as hard as these guys. I don't remember his name. He was a Mexican dude from Mexico. But anyways, it was after one of my title fights. I think I lost because I was fighting the tuna to fight. Yeah, it was a fight after I lost. I lost the title. I fought this Mexican from Mexico. I think he was from Mexico. And then he hit hard.
Oh, it was in Mexico, yeah?
But, no, it was at Sacramento. It was in Sacramento. But he was from Mexico. And then
was it Amancio Castro?
Maybe. I don't remember the guy's name.
I don't know.
What's his record? Would I knock him out? Did I beat him?
You stopped him in just 2 rounds. His record was 21-15 with 3 draws. That fight took place in Nevada. That one. I can't find it.
Oh no. No, it was after one of my title fights. It was Mexican dude. I can't remember his name. Anyways, It was him and Tim Brooks from Sacramento. I fought a guy named Tim Brooks from Sacramento. I fought him in Lake Tahoe twice.
Yeah,
the first fight, because he's a big kid. We used to spar together all the time. And he's a big kid. He's kind of real thick. He's real thin, but real wide, right? All muscular. Looks like a bodybuilder type of dude. And he fought at 130, but he normally fought at 140. He was a boxer. We trained the same gym and stuff, and he fought normally 140. But then he wanted to fight me at 130. I'm going, shoot, that boy ain't never going to make 140, 130. And so the first fight, he killed himself trying to make 130. Well, so I stopped him in somewhere in mid-rounds, and I stopped him. So then he wanted a rematch. So since he's from Sacramento, I go, yeah, I'll give him a rematch. Why not? So so we get ready for this rematch. But I give all fighters credit. I train hard for all my fights. I never goofed off in training. I never took anybody lightly. I never did any of that stuff. So I trained for him the second time, and then we're at Lake Tahoe. We're getting ready to weigh in, and this time this guy comes in like he's looking like he's fresh as a daisy, and he gets on the scale. He weighs 129 3/4. And I'm going, shit, kid's ready this time, it hits hard. And then so we weigh in, so the second fight starts happening, and then and I don't remember what round it was. Like the second or third or fourth round, I don't remember. But I'm moving around, and it might have been the third round. And I'm moving around because I'm thinking the first couple rounds was pretty easy, kicking his butt, it's outboxing, because some guys you gotta box, some guys you gotta fight. Well, he's one of the guys that you gotta box. He wants to away from him because he hits hard. So I'm moving around and I'm doing my thing, and it's going kind of easy. So I'm getting kind of, relaxed. And I just dropped my hand for a second. And he catches me with a left hook that caught the tip of my chin. That's the closest in my career that I've ever been close to my leg hitting. Well, at that time, it had been the closest in my career I've ever was thinking about hitting the canvas. My legs buckled. I remember my eyes went blurry. I seen gray with white dots. My legs gave out, and they said that my knee came from about maybe 2 inches from hitting the canvas, but my legs locked. And I remember the referee was on my left side, and when I got caught, he was on my left side. So when my eyes came back to, I guess I was coming back, my legs locked before I hit the canvas, and I was getting back up. My legs were trying to put me back on right side up, right? And so I remember the referee being there. So I remember just moving to my left because that was where the referee was. So the referee's looking for me. So it bought me a couple more seconds, because he had to find me now. He was I was to his right, now I'm to his left. And I'm behind him. He's going, where you know what I mean? So it bought me a few more seconds. It was just enough time to clear my head, And I went on to beat him. I think I beat him on a decision. And but that's been the closest one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like other times I got dropped, it didn't hurt. It didn't really. I don't know. Never really did anything. But that one did.
Trying to look.
That was fun.
I think the other guy. I think it was either Narciso Romo. It could have been, or Andres Sandoval. Could have been one of them.
Andres Sandoval.
Yeah,
that might have been him.
Okay, you stopped
that might have been him.
You stopped both of those guys in 2 rounds. Back in Sacramento. But the next question I've got for you. Who did you feel was your best opponent you ever boxed?
Wow.
Just kind of all round.
No one's ever asked me that.
All round, if you like.
Dang, dude, that's a good question. And all my life, no one's ever asked me that. Let me see. But if I had to really think about it right now, I would say Molina.
Okay. And I want to ask you this. Was there anyone that you would have liked to fight, but perhaps didn't get a chance to do so?
Yeah, quite a few people. And it was when my career started. I wanted to fight a Zuma Nelson. There was Zuma Nelson, and there was that other guy, the white guy. I can't think of his name. Oh, my God. They were all champions. And watch this. And I state this because I never got the chance. That's what I wanted to do. They were right there with Rocky Lockridge. When I thought of Rocky Lockridge, I thought of Zuma Nelson. I thought of the other guy. I can't think of his name. And then
where was he from? Do you know?
Those are the ones I wanted to fight. And Jeff Fennick.
Jeff Fennick, yeah.
That's
Australia,
it.
yeah.
Jeff Fennick. And so those were the guys I wanted to fight. To me, those were the fights that were gonna, that was in the beginning of my career. But those were the fights to me that would have pushed me over the top. Because I'm a kid dreaming. You know what I mean? And so I got to fight Rocky, but the other two never happened because I think they were still fighting when I won the first title, the Rocky. But I think in the mainstream of me going on doing what I'm doing, they went ahead and retired and stuff like that. So I never got that chance. But here's what I'm saying. I didn't want to fight him because I knew I'd beat him. I wanted to fight him because it would be in a good fight. Yeah. Whether I was going to lose, who knows? But I knew it was going to be a good fight.
And I want to ask this also. Do you have any regrets? If you could go back and change something about your career, would you?
Yeah, sure.
What would that be?
Want to know it? With a couple of the fighters I had late in my career, one was Freddie Pendleton. One was the one in New York. Who did I fight in New York?
Charles Murray?
Charles Murray. Taking nothing from either one of those fighters. Both great fighters. But you know what? I was just with Charles Murray, I was just being a little baby. I really was. And I look at it today as just being a little bee. That's what I was doing. I wanted to train someplace else. They took me somewhere else. I didn't want to go. But they made me, so I went. I didn't train hard, didn't try to train hard. And I told my trainer at the time, who was Jerry Jacobs, I told him, I go, look, I'm going to fight because the fight's, that's what we do. And we signed the contract, so I'm going to fight, but I'm not going to fight to win. I go, here's what I'm going to do. I go, the last 2 rounds of that fight, we're going to go to war. I go, before that, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to try. And Jerry knows me. So Jerry goes, come on, man, just do it for me, man. I go, no, man. This is BS. I don't want to be here. I'm not having fun. This is not fun for me. I want to be in Auburn where we were training at. He goes, oh man, come on, just do it, man. And so we went to New York with that attitude. So me and Jerry made a deal. He goes, okay, just give me the last round of that fight. And I go, okay. I go, I'll stop him in the last round. And he goes, okay. And we were serious, taking nothing from him. I just know what I can do, And so for the first part of the fight, went on. I did what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't stop him. So he won the fight. But he didn't fight Tony the Tiger. He fought. I don't know who he fought that night. It wasn't me.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And watch this. And that's just because I was being a little baby. I was just being a big baby. That's all I was. There's no excuse for that. You never. Who knows what it could have brought to my career? You know what I mean? So if you need fighters out there listening to it, you want to be a baby about something, you don't do it because you never know what could happen to your career if you take that fight and win. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But those are a couple fights that I was just being a baby. Charles Murray and the one before Charles Murray. I don't know if it was before Charles Murray or after.
Yeah, just before.
Was a good fight.
Yeah.
And who was the guy I fought before him?
Before Pendleton?
Pendleton.
Yeah.
I fought Pendleton where? In Vegas?
Yeah, Pendleton in Vegas, and then right after that, Murray in New York.
Yeah. Okay, when I fought Pendleton, watch this. When I fought Pendleton in Vegas, the fight was good. We were doing our thing. I got dropped a couple times, and and that was kind of embarrassing. I think he dropped me like 4 times in 2 rounds.
I think so.
And yeah, and it was the first one was fun. I'm even on the canvas thinking in my head, this is crazy, this is embarrassing, And then I get up, he does it again. I'm going, wow. I'm going, this is really embarrassing. I go to my corner, I come back, he does it again. I'm going, okay, now I'm getting to this. This is stupid. So I get up, and in the second round, I'm going, okay, I'm coming out. We're going to war this next round, So I go back to my corner. We go to war. I think I dropped him the next round or round of that. And then I don't know what round it is, like the 6th or 7th, 8th round, something like that. And I'm picking up the rounds, because we're fighting now. And then so when they stopped it, he threw I'm not sure, a left hook or right hook or whatever he did, and then what happened was he threw it because he's taller than I am. And so I didn't have to go down as far, so I came right back up. But when he threw it, I didn't duck far enough, because he's taller. I didn't have to go down so far. So when he threw that, I think it was a right hook, he caught the backside of my head, and it knocked me forward because he threw the hook. So it knocked me forward. So I'm stumbling across into the forward, And then the referee comes over and stops the fight. And I'm going, the hell are you doing? And so again, fight stops. I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to find it. Once it's over, right? So I remember getting out of the ring. I'm getting ready to walk to the dressing room. We're getting ready to walk. And then on the big TV above the ring, they show what happens. And then all of a sudden, everybody just starts booing, because they thought he hit me. But he didn't. He just caught me on the backside of my head on a right hook and just knocked me forward. It didn't hurt. Didn't do anything. And so, that's when the referee stopped the fight. And then everybody started booing. I thought, it's over. Nothing you can do. But that was a good fight.
Yeah.
You know, that was a good one.
And I also want to ask, you know, during the mid kind of point of your career, you were trained by Jimmy Montoya, you know, the late Jimmy Montoya. Obviously, he trained the likes of, you know, Hector Camacho, Alexis Arguello, Salvador Sanchez. It's brilliant to obviously mix with a guy that, you know, had mixed with such brilliant fighters like those. What was it like to train with a guy with that depth of knowledge?
You know, watch this. I was always brought up to it since my amateur days, you know, to listen to all the trainers, try stuff, and if it works, use it. If it doesn't, throw it away. Don't ignore anybody, you know. Don't ever think you know everything, you know. So I learned a little bit of something from everybody. Even some of the trainers that didn't do anything, I learned something. You know what I mean? Like from Jimmy Montoya, he had a lot of knowledge, you know, just about fighters, about boxing. And you listen to him intently because he knows boxing. The man says the guy's going to do this, guess what? The guy's going to do that. You know? So you listen to him because he has a lot of knowledge. He watches fights all the time. So if he tells you, hey, man, your opponent does this, when you move in this way, he's going to do this, so I want you to do that, you do it. You know? See, it's kind of hard to say, you know, what trainer is going to train you the best, what trainer does this, because if you just take a little something from each trainer and take what works from you and throw away the rest, I mean, you can learn a lot you can learn something from anybody. I learned an overhand right from honestly from a bum on the street. You know, he told me, I did the way he told me, and it worked. So guess what? I used it. From a guy I gave $1 to because he was a bum on the street, and he asked for $1. You know, and he knew who I was. He goes, hey, I used to be a boxer, you know, blah, blah, blah. He goes, and I used to do this. And he showed me this one punch, and I go, I'm going to try it. He goes, man, he goes, can I get $1? Yeah, you can have $1, bro. Here's $1. You know what I mean? So, you know, I just think there's a lot of people have knowledge. I think everybody has knowledge, even fight knowledge, even if you never laced up the gloves. Because if you watch it a lot and you give someone an idea of something he's never heard of before, you know what? I'll try it. It might work. I'll try it 100 times before I throw it away, because everything's not going to work the first time. It may not work the first 20 times. But if you like it, you might perfect it and make it work for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the difference in today's boxers and yesterday's boxers. Today's boxers, they know everything. Can't teach these guys anything. You know?
Coming down to the last couple questions, just 2 questions left for you, Tony. I want to ask you this. What are you up to now? Obviously, you know, I know you're, if I'm not mistaken, you're in the bail bonds industry. I don't even think there's a business for that over here in the UK. Just tell us about that.
Oh, okay. That's a fun business. Just think when you get out of boxing, you get right back into it. Well, here's how it goes. Let's say you go to jail. You do something crazy. You're getting a fight at a bar. I don't know. Anything you do under the influence of anything is a felony. Okay. So let's say you're in a bar, you're drinking, you get in a fight with another guy at a bar, and you guys both end up in jail. Your bail's set at $50,000. As a bail bondsman, my job is to cover that $50,000. Your job is to give me a co-signer, someone with a job that can pay me $5,000. Maybe give me $1,000, $2,000 down, some payments on the rest till it comes out to $5,000. When your case is done, I get my bond back, which means I get my $50,000 back. The money you gave me is my money, right? Somebody goes to pay my bills, I got to pay it. The surety comes their share. So, you know, but it's a good business. And in the cases where I'm not very many, but you have those that run, you know, they don't want to show up to court, so they take off. They don't go to court. They might go across town. They might be in the same town. They might just move from place to place. And then you got those that go really far. You know, my job as a bail bondsman, a.k.a. bounty hunter, is to find you. You know, in today's world, it's not that hard to find people anywhere anymore, you know. There's so many, everywhere you go, your picture's taken. So
car license or pictures taken. You know, you're just everywhere now, and there's programs out there that pinpoint you. And so, you know, my job is to go out there and find you and arrest you and put you back in jail. Once I do that, then I get my money back. If I don't do that, that money's gone. And I got 6 months to do that.
Wow, that's interesting. So, have you had cases where you've not found someone and it's cost you a real heap?
Yes, sir.
Oh wow.
Well, when we first started, you know, because right when I retired, I got in the Belmont business in 1999. I got my license in 1999. Late 1999. And I think in the first few years, we lost a few $100,000. So. And my wife said, you better learn how to find these people or else we're going to be some deep shit stuff. So I said, you know what? We had just lost a $150,000 bond. I had to pay that out of my pocket. And then, so I paid that. I told my wife, I'm not going to lose another one. I go, I'm going to learn how to find these guys. I'm not going to lose another bond. And that's what I did. I haven't lost 1 cent.
Wow, credit to you, my friend. The only thing I've ever seen of that is I've seen the TV show Dog the Bounty Hunter. That's about it.
Okay, look at that show. That's some of the easy stuff we did. Yeah. That probably generates around an easy pickup for us.
Did you like his style?
It worked for the show. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But, ours is a little bit more real, I guess, Yeah. You go out there and you got to do what you got to do, Like I tell people, behind my desk, I'm really nice. I'm a business professional. It's what I do. If you run, you're going to find out the ugly side of me. And that's what I do, And it's about pissing people off and because watch, if you co-sign for a friend of yours and he takes off and runs and you co-sign for him, you're the first person I'm going to come to. You say, why are you coming to me, man? I said, why'd you co-sign for him? Why would you co-sign for somebody you couldn't find? I go, that's kind of dumb. You co-signed on a $50,000 bond, so you're responsible for $50,000 bond, just like I am. I go, but I got 6 months to find him. So if you don't help me find him in 6 months, you're in trouble too. Yeah. And they never really do, because some people run around the corner, some people run around the country. Some people go out the countries. And wherever they go, we go.
Okay.
So
real interesting.
It's been fun. Yeah, it is. It's a really neat business. It really is.
Sounds like one of those jobs where there's like each day is a different thing kind of thing. It's not repetitive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's the best way.
Never a dull moment.
And the final boxing question for you, Tony, before I let you go. I'm putting you on the spot a tiny bit here, but we have to ask this to everyone we speak to from overseas. Favorite UK fighter? Who comes to mind of any era?
No one now, and I'm trying to think of the guys that I did like. I can't remember his name, but that was years ago.
I thought you might be a fan of Tyson Fury these days.
Oh no! You know what? Watch it. Okay, here's where everybody's gonna get mad at me, but I'm just being real. Tyson Fury can't fight. That man can't even throw a damn jab. No, he can't even throw a jab. No, watch. I don't care who it is. He can't throw a jab. You know what? That last fight was disgusting. That was the sorriest heavyweight fight I've ever seen in my life. It really, really is. I'm disgusted. That's one of the reasons why I'm starting to get mad at boxing. Because if they put these two guys, watch, I'll tell you what. Mike Tyson might be 55 years old, but I tell you what, he might give Tyson Fury all he needs to handle, or more than he can handle. Because his punching power as a fighter, he may have slowed down. And, and that might hurt him. I kind of think he will. But anyway, I think he can give Tyson Fury more trouble than any other heavyweight out there right now. Come on, man. He's a champion of the world. He's number one contender. He's champion of the world. He's all this stuff. But the man can't throw a straight jab? Come on. He can't throw a power jab? Come on. He can't throw an uppercut? Come on. And you're trying to tell me that's great boxing? When he the last fight, when he fought that other guy, what was his name? What's his name?
Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder. He's another joke. Watch, Deontay Wilder can't throw a punch. Are you kidding me? These guys are the best boxing has today. Do you mean to tell me they can compare it to Evander Holyfield? You mean to tell me they can compare it to George Foreman? Do you think they can compare it to Joe Lewis? I mean, Joe Lewis, that's going back before, but Joe Frazier? You think you can? Come on, they're not even close. I mean, I haven't even brought up Ali. I haven't even brought up Mike Tyson. I haven't even brought up anybody yet. But you think these guys can hang with them? Come on. See, that's the problem with boxing today. Everybody thinks that was a great fight. That wasn't a great fight. That was a sorry fight. That fight was disgusting. You had two guys in there punching like they didn't know what they were doing. Go back and look at the fight. Maybe you forgot. But go back and look at the fight and tell me those guys are punching correctly. Tell me they have defense. Tell me they're fighting the way they're supposed to fight. Come on, you can't say anything of that. You can't even come close. You can't tell me that either one of them guys can throw a jab. You know, it's called a straight jab. A jab goes straight, not to the right. What the hell is that? There's no such thing as a right-left jab. There's no such thing. But they brought it to town that night. That's disgusting. No, it really is. It's disgusting. And watch this. If you get an old, now you might ask some new champion today. He'll say, "Oh yeah, they're great," you know, blah 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 blah. Come on, man, for real. For boxing today, put them in the likes of George Foreman, Mike, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson. Put them in there. Come on, I dare you.
Yeah.
No comparison. No way.
All right,
I'm not buying it.
Let's
wouldn't
let's
happen.
go to your favorite UK fighter.
I can't remember his name.
I can help you.
Oh my God!
Who did he box?
Okay, it was during.
Yeah, go on.
It was during my time. It was my time when I was fighting. It was just maybe in '88. Who was a big fighter in '88, '90 in that era?
Do you know which weight?
I think he was heavier than me. Obviously, he was heavier than me. I think maybe 165, 154, 178, around in there.
Oh gosh, there's so many guys.
I know.
You can't remember if it was a black guy, a white guy.
No, he's a white dude.
White guy.
And you know what? And you know the effects of boxing. My memory is not the greatest, so there's a lot of things I don't remember. But I do remember. I can't remember really names. So a few things. If I lost anything from boxing, it was my memory. Just not a lot, but here and there. Like sometimes I'm one here and there. What am I doing? Oh yeah.
I can't. Yeah,
and that's just how it is.
I can't really think of who it'd be, to be honest.
Okay, that was the beginning of my career, so maybe 95, the latest. I'm thinking.
Man, you can't remember who he fought at all?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
All right.
Because remember, during that time, I was busy training and fighting. I didn't really get a chance, but I would catch one or two guys, and I go, "Oh, okay. When he's fighting, I'm going to watch that fight." And he was one of those guys. I go, "I'm going to watch him fight. I like the way he fights." Who was it?
I can't remember. If you do remember, let me know. But that's
fine.
No,
for real.
That's fine. We'll try and find out at some point. Just finally, Tony, before we let you go, if you've got any closing words to our listeners, I'm sure they would have all enjoyed this and how honest you've been, how in depth you've been, and of course, your UK fans that appreciate you probably don't get to hear from you too much. What's your closing message to them?
Man, I'll tell you. Here's my closing message. If you were a fan of mine back in the 88 to 90s, late 90s, and I appreciate you. I really do. Sorry I could never fight there. I would love to. But hey, I'm doing well. On the business, doing my thing, getting ready to move. I think I'm going to move to Florida, and then start a new life there. So see what happens. So I thank everybody and thank you very much.
And just once again, what was the YouTube to watch? Because I did see a clip on YouTube of you teaching some footwork. Where can people go to see these free boxing lessons online?
Oh, okay. It's called Boxing Basics, Tony the Tiger Lopez. And in all honesty, if you go, because I went to Boxing Basics with other people, and it's funny because they really don't know what they're doing. So I thought, hey, look, I have something to give back, and I'll do it for free. So what I'm teaching here is real footwork, real punching, real head movement, real everything. It would be like I was training you personally. So, so that's just really what it is. And since the coronavirus has happened, we haven't been able to do any more, but we're going to start here in another couple of weeks, maybe a month. We'll start adding on. We'll continue on. And we're going to do everything from, I'm going to teach how to block, parry, stuff you never even heard of before. That's been boxing since 1920. It's how to parry punches, how to block punches, how to do all this stuff. I'm going to teach old school boxing.
Excellent. So like I say, anyone listening to this, free online boxing lessons in the comfort of your own home or gym or wherever you want to watch it on YouTube. Search for Boxing Basics. Tony the Tiger Lopez. Free stuff there from a former three-time world champion. Yeah, excellent.
If they can do one thing for me, when you get there, hit subscribe so I know that you're there.
Absolutely. Hit the subscribe button. Listen, Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure discussing your career this week. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your honesty and, just how much detail you've gone into. It's been a complete honor of mine, and I hope we can speak again sometime in the future.
Thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 245 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. A massive thank you to our sole guest on this week's show, the former three-time world champion, Mr. Tony Lopez. That was one of, if not my most in-depth interviews that I've done. I love the honesty from Tony. He completely says what's on his mind, no holding back, super honest, very in-depth, like I say. A real pleasure to do that. I'd like to apologise, though, for the distorted audio for probably the last 20 minutes of the interview. I hope it was listenable for you all. It was an error on my part, so like I say, I apologise for that. I'm sorry about that. Thank you all, though, for tuning in once again this week. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.